Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to WyzGyz Entertainment. This is your host, Wyman. Today we have Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Um, yeah, so some of you may know I'm not a huge fan of Disney Star Wars. I think for about 95% of it, they've screwed the pooch, as it were. Um, Out of the sequel trilogy, that is episodes. Wait, 7, 8, and 9. Yeah. Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and was it Return of Skywalker? Revenge of Skywalker? Um, Something like that. The Force Awakens is, I guess, the best out of the three. Um, they all had their major fails. But, oh, okay. All right. So it gets a lot of hate, not as much hate as it used to, but my main gripe with it is that it's basically a rehash of A New Hope. J.J. Abrams played it ultra safe. He tried to get the fandom on his side by pushing for practical effects whenever possible and not fully relying on digital effects CGI. Um, that I can commend him on. Um, the story is so. I don't like the fact that it's basically a rehash of A New Hope, episode 4, um, beat for beat. I thought it was ridiculous that they had yet another Death Star, except it was an entire planet, and somehow they built the infrastructure in a planet. All right, I'll give you that it's kind of crazy to build a whole freaking space station in outer space. But to convert an existing planet, well, I guess if you can build a space station, then you could somehow modify a planet into a star killer base, I think they called it, where the cannon could actually decimate multiple planets all at once. Um, the yeah. Oh man, things are starting to merge into one another. All right, so one problem one problem I had was um, oh man, there's just so many things. I don't know if I'm going to do a longer video, but oh man. All right, so Ray is indeed a Mary Sue. By Mary Sue, I mean it's a character who basically has her abilities and powers handed to her on a silver platter. Um, she knows how to fly starships, even though she's been more or less living on a desert all her life, on a desert planet at that. So, to my knowledge, she never left the planet until this adventure. She's only heard stories about the rebellion, um, the Rebel Alliance, and stuff. So, it's kind of crazy that She knows how to use the Force. She knows how to use a lightsaber. I mean, roughly. Um, she knows how to repair starships. She knows, like the Millennium Falcon. She knows how to talk to Wookiees. She knows how to talk to droids. And she has never really struggled in her life aside from, making sure she had enough food. And you'll see in the movie that, spoiler alert, that she salvages old parts and trades them in for food portions. Um, so this is also the movie where they brought back Harrison Ford. Um, there must have been something in his contract that said, you got to kill me off, otherwise I'm not signing on to do it. So he dies in this movie. It's a really bad and lame death. Um, I'm trying to remember if it's this movie or the second movie where Leia dies. I think she died in the second one. Yeah. Yeah, I think she died in The Last Jedi. So I'm kind of pissed at Harrison Ford because he doesn't seem to give a damn about anything nowadays. And although he uh, although he seemed to appreciate his character in Indiana Jones, he didn't seem to care much about his character as Han Solo as much as I did. Um, I thought he was well cast in it. Let's see here. Luke Skywalker, they don't, again, spoilers. They didn't introduce him until the very, very end. And it was basically him removing his hood. Kylo Ren, I thought he was a whiny bitch. I didn't care for that. I thought his lightsaber was a little ridiculous. Uh, the whole reason to even have those side guards on a sword is to protect your hands and give you a little more coverage in case a long armed weapon uh, came down close to your hand. So to have it also be blades that can cut seems a little awkward, and I would think you'd be more prone to injuring yourself as the wielder. Um, they introduced Finn and Poe. Uh, Poe Dameron is the cocky pilot who is like one of the greatest pilots around. I guess he's supposed to be comparable to Luke. And then Finn, former stormtrooper, who decides to defect. He was probably the most interesting character in the movie. He didn't seem to. He started off decent, but then after this movie, everything went downhill from there. And they didn't realize his potential. They seem to initially, at least in the advertising, seem to be leaning on him ultimately becoming a Jedi, which would have been interesting considering he was formerly a stormtrooper. Um, but after this movie, it made a turn for the worse, and Ray became the main character protagonist, I think is the term. Uh, but regardless of all those issues, crazily enough, uh, I still enjoy movies for like their entertainment value, and this is semi barely entertaining. So take it with a grain of salt, but I would give it a oh shoot. You know what? I don't even know if I'd give it a recommend at this point, a mild recommend. I mean, I will likely still see myself rewatching this just for the hell of it, or even if as background noise. Uh, it's one of those things where because it's tied to the Star Wars brand, uh, I might still be compelled to watch it. But if you never watched this Disney trilogy, Star Wars sequel trilogy, you're not really going to miss out. I mean, I come from being a Lucas Star Wars supporter, so my Star Wars is the 6 movie saga, the prequels plus the original trilogy. So that's my favorite. I hear the Clone Wars cartoon is really good and kind of better fleshes out the Clone Wars movie in the prequel. Um, but you don't really have to watch the sequel trilogy. I think the only thing, I think the only good things that came out of Disney Star Wars so far are Rogue One, which is decent, and Gina Carano. Um, but other than that, I think Disney's done a horrible job uh, maintaining Lucas's legacy. So, yeah, if you want a taste of Disney Star Wars, then I'll give it a mild recommend. Outside of that, I don't recommend it because if you have a huge love of Lucasfilm Star Wars, George Lucas Star Wars, then Disney Star Wars will just disappoint. So you're better off with your memories of Lucas Star Wars in the long run because the J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson are just going to break your heart. That was it for Star Wars The Force Awakens. Background noise worthy. Um, that's about it. Had some potential, some unanswered questions, but as is common with J.J. Abrams, they say he's all about mystery boxes, and that's basically this in a nutshell. All right, thanks for joining me for today's movie nugget. See you on the next one.